Where do waves come from? What makes them? Well, the answer to this is wind. If you take wind and blow it across the surface of the ocean, particles and stuff start bouncing around and create a frequency, a pulse, what we call swell. Well, as this swell gets further away from the wind, it allows it to open up and uniform and define itself into what we call good groundswell, where the swell lines are much further apart, meaning that the wind that's created the groundswell is much further away. Whereas when the swell lines are much closer together, it means that the wind that created the swell is much closer to the land. But for as tall as you see this swell is high, this energy transcends down into the water. And as this swell makes its way into the coastline, if we draw our swell here, making its way into the coastline, if as it comes into the transition of your beach or your reef, if the transition of your beach or reef comes up very steep and violently, you'll find as this energy feels its way in along the ocean floor, as it catches, it will trip up very violently, giving you a very hollow dumping wave. This is where you'll quite often see surfers riding along inside waves. But this is when you've got a very steep transition to your beach. So as that energy catches, it falls over very quickly. Whereas if you take the same swell, and we draw it in here, and you take your ocean floor, if as the swell makes its way into the coastline, it comes into contact with a very soft transition that comes up very gently, as this energy feels its way in along the ocean floor, as it comes in and catches on the transition of your beach or reef, the wave will only get to about 45 degrees and crumble, giving you a nice soft spilling wave as it comes into contact with a much softer transition to your beach or your reef. So the key points to this are, if you've got a nice soft transition to your beach or your reef, you'll get a nice soft spilling wave. Whereas if you've got a very steep transition to your beach or your reef, you'll find your wave breaks very violently, giving you hollow dumping waves. And as surfers, we want good groundswell, where the swell lines are more spread out, as opposed to wind swell, where the swell lines are much closer together. But in a nutshell, that's how waves are created.